Alright, definitely not my area of expertise, but I'll touch on it anyway. I've done a few of them, so I've got a rough idea what I'm doing. These are blades for a clearing saw. These ones have got the 25mm or 1-inch arbor, so these are for some of the different ones. Most of the larger scale steel ones, so your FS460, FS560, and the newer versions of them actually use a 20mm arbor. You can get adapters to run these on it. These ones aren't my preferred type of blades. I actually prefer these Husky style ones, but I haven't played around with this one because I don't mind wasting it. So for people that haven't seen them before, they obviously come in a little package. It's not a bad little pack they come in. It all folds up. I open it up. They list our sharpening instructions just inside. We'll get to them in a minute. Fold it out. Here we have our blade. So that's our blade. It's a pretty basic design. So each of these teeth has a small upper section here that requires sharpening. These are done with a 5.5mm or a 7/32 round file, a chainsaw file. And then obviously the teeth, like everything that cuts wood, the teeth have set. So you need to do the set. So I'll show the instructions and a bit of the basics. For anyone that's interested, that's the sharpening tool I use. This is a Husqvarna one. So it's got your 15-degree angles marked on it, which is what you're aiming for generally. On this end, it's got these sections here to set the teeth. So there's two different angles there. It goes over the top of the tooth and you bend it down. It's just a 5.5mm round file. This one's gone a bit rusty. But yeah, it's been a while since I've used them, so it happens. So let's have a look at the sharpening instructions for one of these. They sell two different Still sells two separate tools to do it. There's a file guide and a file holder, as well as a setting tool. As you can see with the Husqvarna one I showed, it's in the one tool. It's a combined tool. Generally when you're using them, you'll just cut a slot in the top of a piece of wood. You'll cut a stump off at about waist height, a tree off about waist height, cut a slot down in it so you've got some way of holding onto it. I'll probably try and demonstrate it here. I'm just going to stick it in a bench vise with soft jaws. You lay your holder over the top and you file away. So you use a 15-degree angle to the side of the blade, which is why we've got the 15-degree marks, and also a 5-degree tilt. But yeah, same thing, your 15-degree basics on your other side, your 5 degrees of tilt. So it just describes what to do. Their setting tool's done differently. They've got a little notch, you stick it over, you bend it back. So that's what they're describing down the bottom here. They're looking for a 1mm set on this blade. Different manufacturers recommend different things, but that 1mm is pretty common. We have a quick look at the Husky style guide. They're telling you the same thing, 15-degree angle, 5.5mm file, 5-degree up angle, use their setting tool. Their setting tool has two different settings. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head. So they use a 1.6mm and a 1.8mm offset, depending on which part you use. So there you go, they are wider than I thought. If you never cut with these things, it's quite an experience. Generally, you can use these to trees to about 8 inches. You can go further to about 10 inches if you have to. Cut speed is incredibly high with these. It is much faster than using a chainsaw for clearing that kind of stuff. Much easier on you because you're just standing upright. You wear a big harness when you're using it, and yeah, it makes the experience a lot better when you're dealing with a lot of small wood. Most of the training information you'll find on it generally comes from Europe. Highly recommend watching some of that if you actually do use a blade like this, because they are extremely dangerous. These things, when they kick back, it is incredible. So yeah, I might throw that in a vise and just show you the very basics of filing it. It doesn't actually need to be done, this one. It's not a blade that I use very much, but I'll run through some of the quick basics for anyone who wants to see it. Okay, so here's the blade up in a vise. Unfortunately, like most things in life, the right way to sharpen this and the right way to video it are competing with each other, but I'll do what I can here. So I'm just going to mark up the tooth. That way I can show you what's actually done. So we come in with the file guide, sits on top of the actual tooth. Got our 15-degree line over the top. Give it a bit of tilt and away we go. We're just going to work around the light and the camera. So you can see it starts taking it out. This one's been shaped slightly differently. I'm suspecting I did this with just a file last time. A little bit more to get the very top of that. We'll call that good enough. So that's the process. You go around the whole thing, just set your 15 degrees. So that's the basic sharpening process. It's a lot like sharpening saw chain. There are a few things you want to keep in mind. You really want to try and keep these roughly the same length because it's a fixed disc and they have a top plate clearance angle, just like a saw chain. They have no way of compensating for that. There is no depth gauge. It's not mounted on a rivet. So you need these to remain at the same height so that it cuts consistently the whole way around. So this is definitely something you want to measure when you're doing it. After you go around and do that, there's obviously the setting aspect of it. As I said before, this file guide's got the 2 setting tool on it. It's something that you place over the top of the tooth. You get it right on the end out here towards the edge of the cutting tooth. This one has already been set. You just drop it down and you bend them back so it fits the template in the end here. So that's the process. It's pretty quick and easy. It's just something different for a lot of people. The way these things cut wood is incredible. So sharpening these things is a bit strange. There's no actual corner to a line. We're just putting a sharp edge on the tip there. You can do it a variety of ways. You can use different size files. I've actually used a 1/4-inch file for a lot of these in the past. You could theoretically square file it if you wanted to, but there's no real need because there's no corner to line up. So that's the basics of it. I actually don't have any video of me using the clearing saw or using one of these blades. So that's something I'll try and get in the coming months so I can show it. It's more a winter activity that I'm usually using these, and it's the middle of summer here, so might be a delay on that. You can get carbide blades and things like that for it if you're not really confident with the sharpening. They do hold up very well. They really need to be ground to be sharpened. That's where things like the USG grinders with their attachments can work. But I always run these because they're reasonably cheap and they do a good job for what I do. I'm not destroying them enough to really worry about it. Apart from that, these steel branded blades like this are made in Japan, and I think I can't remember if they're the Dia Top or the Sugi branded ones. They're okay. They're not my favourite. As I said before, I like the Husky ones more than these. They seem to work a bit better. If you can get hold of the old Windsor ones, the Canadian Windsor ones, they were quite good. But yeah, these things are limited use for me. They're a great tool when I need one, but I don't need one all the time. So yeah, that's your basic overview of that. If anyone's actually interested in any more detail about these, I can try, but as I said in the beginning, I'm not the most qualified person to speak about these things. I understand how they work. I can use one, I can sharpen one, but it was never something that I really specialised in, so I don't know all the intricate details of this. So yeah, that's the basics. We'll leave it at that.